Hello everybody! Today we are going to focus on grammar, and precisely we are going to study the conditional sentences or the if clauses. So first of all, let's start by defining conditional sentences. What are actually conditional sentences? So, conditional sentences are also known as conditional clauses or if clauses. They are used to express that the action in the main clause, so the clause without if, can only take place if a certain condition in the clause with if is fulfilled. So there are several types of conditional sentences. We are going to explore these types together step by step. So let's look at the first type of the conditional sentences, which is conditional type 0. So the zero conditional is a structure used to talk about general truths. So this is the most important thing about the first type, is that we use it to talk about general truths, which are things which always happen under certain conditions. So let's look at the structure of a zero conditional sentence. So a zero conditional sentence consists of two clauses, an if clause and a main clause. So this is always the case in if clauses. They are composed of an if clause and a main clause. So let's look at this example. If you heat water to 100 degrees, it boils. So in the if clause, we used if plus subject plus the present simple. It's the same thing in the main clause. We used subject plus the present simple. As you can see here, water boils if you heat it to 100 degrees. Both verbs are actually conjugated in the simple present or the present simple. Let's try to practice. We already did the first example, water boils if you heat it to 100 degrees. The second example, if you mix red and white, you get pink. Let's move on to the first conditional. So the second type is the first conditional. It is also called conditional type 1. It's a structure used to talk about possibilities in the present or in the future. The structure of a first conditional sentence is that we use the simple present in the if clause and the future simple in the main clause. So in the if clause, as I said, if plus subject plus present simple. And in the main clause, it's the subject plus the future simple. So let's look at this example. If you leave now, you will arrive in time. Let's do some other examples. For example, here, if the bus arrives on time, I won't miss the football match. Okay, so let's move to the second conditional. So the second conditional, also called conditional type 2, is a structure used to talk about unreal situations in the present or in the future. The structure of the conditional type 2 is that we use the simple past in the if clause and would plus the verb in the main clause. For example, if I had $1 million, I would buy a very big house. Okay, so as you can see here in the if clause, if plus subject plus simple past. In the main clause, it's the subject plus would plus the verb. Let's do some practice. If Joe was here, he would catch some fish for supper. Okay, now the last type of conditional sentence is the conditional type 3. It is a structure used to talk about unreal situations in the past. So let's look at this example. If I had studied harder, I would have passed the exam. The explanation of this sentence is, I failed the exam because I didn't study hard enough. That is to say, in the if clause, we use if plus subject plus past perfect, and in the main clause, we use subject plus would plus have plus the past participle. Okay, so the past perfect is formed with the auxiliary verb had and the past participle of the verb. For example, would have been or would have arrived. So I would like to conclude, before I conclude, let's do an example. So if you had studied for the test, you would have passed it. So as you can see here, it's the past perfect, and here it's would plus have plus the verb. So I would like to conclude with the remark is that we use a comma if the if clause is at the beginning of the sentence. For example, if I go to London, comma, I will visit the tower. But we don't use a comma if the if clause is at the end of the sentence, like here. I will visit the tower if I go to London. Okay, this is the end of today's lesson. I hope that you liked it. Thank you so much for your attention.